Everybody, good afternoon. It's Rebecca over at the Lebanon, Oregon Senior Center here today, bringing you another cooking demo. This month we've been focusing on one-pot wonders. Today, you might have guessed it, we are showcasing the slow cooker, the crock pot. Oh, how it has come so far. You know, nowadays you can find ones that you can digitally access via your cell phone and change the settings when you're not even home. I mean, talking about going high tech with your cooking, remote control cooking, it's like a thing of the Jetsons. Anyway, so we are working on soup. We've heard cold weather is going to start up this weekend. So what better time to do a soup? And we can call them these one-pot wonders, but today you do have the option of using a skillet and a pot here. This recipe is actually cool because most soups can be done, of course, in a variety of ways. This recipe you could certainly do in the slow cooker. You can do on the stove in a stock pot. You can do it in even the Instapot that we showcased last week. I actually might like that for this recipe a little bit more than the slow cooker because I could truly keep it one pot. In reality, I might like to actually, in a saute pan, put a little brown on the sausage we're going to use in today's recipe before I put it in the slow cooker. Just those brown bits just add that extra caramelization, a little extra flavor to the soup. You can also do that with the onions that you're going to use in the soup today. But in a pinch, if you're in a rush, you don't want to deal with it, you can certainly just toss some pre-cooked sausage into the into the crock pot or your slow cooker, and go ahead and do your recipe. For the instant, obviously you can put it on a saute setting first, brown up your sausage and onions, and then switch it over to the slow cooker setting. If you're going to be leaving the house, if you got doctor's appointments or whatnot and want some hearty when you get home, or just because you don't want to be diddling in the kitchen all afternoon and you want it to be cooking while you're doing the chores. Slow cookers are fun because you can set it, forget it, walk away, do some other things, and come back. When my kids were home, it was one of my favorite ways to do a dinner when I knew I was going to be working all day and I could just come home and most of the work would be done for me and we could just have dinner together. Soup is, of course, one great thing to do in a crock pot. There's a lot of other things you can do with a crock pot, but we're going soup today. The soup we're going to be doing is a sausage, spinach, and white bean soup. Sounded good to me. I don't know about you. It sounds like a lot of good ingredients, nutrients, and nice and hearty as we're heading into fall and winter. So as I talked about, it is going to include some sausage. You can brown that in a little saute pan before you put it in your slow cooker, or go ahead and put it in. I am using a already cooked smoked sausage. I am using andouille. It's got a little bit of spice to it. If you aren't a fan of the spice, or your system just doesn't want to handle that very well, you can certainly get a milder smoked sausage as well. It doesn't have as many spices in it. Of course, you can also do a turkey sausage and sausage alternatives and all kinds of things these days. So in our crock pot, I've already got just a drizzle of olive oil. I've got one package of smoked sausage cut up. Just kind of diced it up a little bit, kind of whatever size you want to be spooning into your mouth in here. And I've got an onion diced, a small onion diced up and put in there as well. We are going to be adding 3 cloves of garlic, or in my life, 3 teaspoons of garlic, minced garlic from the jar. 2. You can count along, and those are very carefully measured. Hefty in my world. Teaspoons. Okay, so we've got that going on. That's one other thing about soups and recipes in the crock pot. Often you can just dump it all in there, forget about it. I like dump and run. Okay, so we've got that, and one of the fun things that you can do with soups is to change the texture of the items going in. So you can get a couple of carrots and dice them up or chop them up. But I thought the texture of these little wavy carrot bits, might just be a little fun. So we've got some carrot chips that we're tossing in there. All right, and we've got 2 stalks of celery and it's supposed to be about 3 packed cups of spinach. I'm going to start with the celery first because I do want to do some mixing before I toss in that spinach. Some of it's going to go in with my celery, and that's okay. All right, so we've got the carrots, we've got the celery. We need the beans. So 2 cans, about 15 ounces each, so about 30 ounces of white Great Northern beans. You want to strain and rinse them. So those are our beans strained and rinsed right there. And of course, we need some chicken stock. So I've got one of these cartons, 32 ounces, which is 4 cups of chicken stock. And I like to use low sodium so we can control how much sodium is going into our food. We try to keep it down. So of course, there's going to be a lot of salt into that smoked sausage. So I'm going to actually wait to add more salt until after it cooks down for a bit so I can taste it. I'm going to give that just a little bit of a stir here. There we go. You can always add a little bit more water. I probably will add a little bit later on. I am going to let it start cooking on so those vegetables start to cook down a little bit and those flavors from the sausage start to marry with the water so that we kind of know what we're doing. I don't want to dilute it down so much that we ruin the flavor. All right, from home I brought in a couple of leaves, and some dried oregano. So I just put that in there. The dry oregano, they say is half a teaspoon. I like it a little bit more than that. So I did about a whole teaspoon of dry oregano and about 3 bay leaves because they were kind of small. If you got bigger bay leaves, you can certainly go ahead and just use 2. Again, a little stir. And carefully measure, I swear. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. All right, and as I said, this is where the spinach comes into play. Magically, we're going to fit these 3 cups of spinach down in here. If you've not cooked with spinach before, it has a lot of volume going in, but it withers down and wilts down to about nothing. So even though this crock pot looks like there's too much in here, this spinach is just going to steam down, join the rest of the soup, and it'll actually fit right in there. You can carefully try to stir a little bit in, but honestly, I would just let it hang out and steam for a little while. You can come back in an hour or 2 if you want and give it a stir after it starts to wilt. But otherwise, it's more likely just to come hopping out of the pot. So now that we've got our ingredients for our soup in the pot, this is the hard part. Put that lid on. Snug that lid down right there, and we're going to make sure you've got 2 options with the soup. Obviously, the beans, since we're using canned beans, are already semi-soft, and the sausage is already cooked. A lot of things are already cooked, so it's really about getting it to the texture of the vegetables that you want and giving a chance for those flavors to marry together. Now, if you're starting this midday like I am, maybe you don't want it to take 8 hours, so don't put it on low. If you're doing this first thing in the morning because you're going to be gone all day, set it to a low setting, walk away, come back at later in the afternoon, this evening, and you should be able to set it to warm or go ahead and just turn it off. But if you're running short on the day's got away from you, but you got some chores to do around the house, you can get this going and just put it on high for 3 hours, 4 hours, and let that lettuce wilt, let all those flavors come together, and it'll be ready when you are for a late lunch, early supper time. So that's where we're going to start, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the video for right now, And we'll come back, and when it's had a couple of hours to hang out and cook up in this crock pot, I'll show you what the results look like. All right, it's been a couple of hours and we are back at our crock pot soup here. The sausage, spinach, and white bean soup is just about done. Actually, I'd say, you can serve it up anytime. Really just kind of gets to the softness of the vegetables that you're looking for. Like the carrots to be, have a little bit of bite in them for my preference. If you want them softer, you could still go a little bit longer. The spinach has gotten wilted down. The thing you need to remember to do before you serve it up is hunt down those bay leaves. So there's one, and just kind of work your way through the soup. Try to find those the best you can. Try to keep somebody from biting into them, because certainly those can end up a little bit bitter if somebody actually tries to eat one, and not too tasty on their own. So fish those out, and then when you're ready, pull out some bowls or your favorite soup mug, and you can serve up this delicious soup. Of course, you can adjust quantities to make a smaller batch for yourself. Freeze a little up on a day when you don't want to cook, and you can pull it out of the freezer and defrost it and have it on another day, or have it for lunch a couple of days during the week if you're feeling a little like you're overwhelmed by your schedule, or you just maybe not feeling like cooking every day. So that's what's for lunch around here today. Our lovely sausage, spinach, and white bean soup, full of nutrition and fiber and all kinds of vitamins and minerals from the spinach and the carrots. So feel free to mix a batch up of your own. Of course, you can adjust seasonings as you like. From Lebanon Senior Center, you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week for another cooking demo and one pot wonder. Bye-bye.